The movie begins with Ryan Reeves driving his car through the streets. As he navigates the traffic, he reaches over to the passenger seat and picks up some newspaper articles. The headline reveals that notorious criminals are being freed from prison. Ryan puts the articles into the dashboard drawer, but the news triggers a mix of frustration and determines his expression. Three men are hunting in the woods when one of them, Dale, separates his two friends in pursuit of his prey, a rabbit that he missed on his first shot. Seconds later, Dale spots his target and raises his rifle, ready to pull the trigger. Suddenly, Ryan appears out of nowhere and grabs Dale by the neck, strangling him with one hand. As Dale struggles, Ryan leans in and tells him to remember the name Mary Ann DeRosa before shoving him off the cliff. Dale falls to his death, killed instantly by the impact. Ryan then drove to a small town called Hope. Once there, he stopped at a gas station to buy a few items and gather information about where he could stay. The owner, Kirby, pointed him to the only motel in town. Meanwhile, FBI Special Agent Frank is meeting with his colleagues to devise a plan to capture Dale, a notorious criminal known not only for murder, but also for rape. As they strategize, another agent bursts into a room with urgent news. Dale has been found dead. Ryan arrived at the modest motel managed by Darcy, a young woman who found it unusual for outsiders to venture into Hope, given its notorious dangers. She couldn't understand why Ryan would risk coming to such a perilous town, but Ryan cryptically mentioned he had business to attend to. Outside a nearby building, motorcycles line the curb, marking the presence of a local biker gang. When a startled gang member emerged, a barking dog triggered his instinct to draw his gun. Before he could act, Ryan intervened decisively, swiftly neutralizing the threat. The altercation attracted attention, drawing other gang members, including Drake, the gang's leader, known for his ruthless demeanor. Despite the confrontation, Drake failed to place Ryan among the countless faces he encountered in his line of work. Opting to prioritize pressing gang matters, Drake reluctantly allowed Ryan to depart, his attention diverted by more immediate concerns. The next day, Rex, Drake's brother, reported to Drake that a club owner had not paid their security fee. Furious, Drake issued a challenge to the owner, a one-round boxing match. If the owner won, Drake promised to never demand payment again. Despite his age, Drake displayed formidable strength, easily defeating the larger man. Showing unexpected mercy, Drake decided to let the owner off the hook. Drake also operated a methamphetamine production and distribution operation, overseen by Rex. Alongside managing the lab, Rex had the additional responsibility of keeping a watchful eye on Ryan. Later that night, Rex visited Darcy's motel, pressing her for information about the man staying there. Darcy, aware of the town's volatile nature, hesitated. Rex persisted, demanding answers, and when Darcy refused, he resorted to threats. He warned her of severe consequences if she didn't comply. Unbeknownst to Rex, Ryan overheard the tense exchange and intervened decisively, ignoring Darcy's warning about Rex's identity. Ryan confronted him physically. Despite Darcy's concerns about potential reprisal from the gang, Ryan opted for a bold move. He took Rex to the gang's clandestine lab, secured him to a vehicle, and initiated a chain reaction that culminated in a devastating explosion. This act not only eliminated the lab, but also resulted in Rex's death. Drake and his gang quickly noticed the fiery explosion and rushed to the lab, arriving just in time to witness the engulfing flames consuming everything in their path. Grief and shock were evident on their faces as they stood helplessly before the blazing inferno. Drake, overwhelmed by the loss of his beloved brother, his anger seen in the tense air. Shortly thereafter, the sheriff and one of his deputies, his son, arrived at the scene to investigate the devastating incident. Drake, seething with anger, promptly confronted the sheriff, warning of dire consequences if the law dared to interfere with their operations. The sheriff, well aware of the gang's dominance and the terror they imposed on the town, chose not to provoke further conflict. He reasoned that yielding to the gang's demands might maintain a fragile peace and prevent further bloodshed and hope, opting for diplomacy over confrontation in a tense and volatile situation. Convinced that Ryan was behind his brother's death, Drake ordered Kirby to be brought to their headquarters, believing he held crucial information about Ryan's activities. Drake then demanded Kirby's assistance in investigating Ryan and uncovering his identity. With a menacing display of authority, Drake made Kirby hold a knife, pressing it until Kirby bled to emphasize the seriousness of his threat. Kirby reluctantly agreed to cooperate, compelled to obey Drake's orders in order to save himself. The next day, Ryan carried out another strike, this time targeting a gang's truck transporting meth to another city. He carefully followed the convoy, staying hidden until he disabled the truck by deflating its tire. This forced the driver to exit, where Ryan swiftly ambushed him, violently slamming his head against the car door. Moments later, Ryan triggered an explosion that engulfed the truck in flames. The loud blast immediately drew the attention of a nearby gang member, who hurried to inform Drake about the devastating loss of their valuable meth shipment. Kirby initiated his investigation into Ryan by searching through Ryan's car, parked near the motel, hoping to uncover information about him. However, Ryan unexpectedly emerged from the motel and caught Kirby in the act, forcing him to halt his snooping. Awkwardly smiling, Kirby invited Ryan to his nearby house for a drink, hoping to defuse the tension. But Ryan remained cautious. Upon reaching Kirby's house, he confronted him about the car search. Kirby, feeling cornered, admitted that Drake had ordered him to investigate Ryan. Before they could discuss further, the sound of a motorcycle announced the arrival of Crab, one of Drake's men, who challenged Ryan to a fight. Though brief, Ryan emerged victorious, but allowed Crab to leave unharmed. Meanwhile, Drake pursued his own investigation, meeting with the sheriff to gather information. Through their conversation, Drake learned that Ryan was a former police officer who had quit the force after his family was murdered. Drake handed the sheriff a sum of money and sternly instructed him to ensure that federal authorities were kept out of the investigation. Later that night, under the cover of darkness, Drake and his men silently approached Kirby's house where he slept, clutching his gun. Drake's disappointment simmered at Kirby's unreliability, particularly in such a straightforward task as gathering information about Ryan. Seeing Kirby's failure as a breach of trust, Drake ordered Crab to end Kirby's life. The next morning, the deputy sheriff discovered Kirby's lifeless body, convinced that Drake was responsible for the murder. In a swift move, Ryan stormed into one of Drake's clubs, swiftly overpowering all of his adversaries. With urgency driving him, he kidnapped Crab and confined him in the trunk of his car. Driving to the gang's headquarters, Ryan executed his revenge by setting Crab on fire in front of Drake. In a flashback to his days as a cop, Ryan was enjoying a party with his family and friends when a group of masked criminals barged in. They opened fire indiscriminately, targeting everyone present, including Ryan and his loved ones. Drake mobilized his remaining men, swiftly ordering them to gather and arm themselves for a relentless pursuit of Ryan, whom he now saw as a formidable threat. Later that night at the motel, Darcy, alerted by suspicious noises, reacted quickly by grabbing her shotgun, preparing to defend against potential intruders. Ryan, ever vigilant and anticipating trouble, directed Darcy to seek safety behind the reception desk, positioning himself strategically. As Drake's men entered the motel, Ryan, strikingly patient, waited until they were within striking distance. Sensing the opportune moment, he orchestrated a calculated move, commanding Darcy to extinguish the lights, enveloping the room in sudden darkness. In the ensuing chaos, gunfire erupted, and when Darcy restored the light, the room revealed a scene of carnage. Drake's men lay lifeless, a testament to Ryan's swift and lethal response. Remarkably unharmed from the intense firefight, Ryan acknowledged that the motel was no longer a safe haven. However, their escape was cut short when lurking enemies, lying in wait, ambushed them. In the brutal onslaught that followed, Ryan fought valiantly, but succumbed to overwhelming numbers, falling unconscious under the onslaught of his adversaries. When Ryan regained consciousness, the first thing he saw was Drake's imposing face. He and Darcy had been taken captive to the gang's headquarters, where Ryan found himself bound to a chair, severely restricting his movement. Drake menacingly threatened to kill both Ryan and Darcy, tauntingly mentioning his intent to indulge in harming Darcy before ending her life. With a command, he instructed one of his men to begin torturing Ryan, then withdrew to another room. The torture commenced with brutal intensity as the gang members savagely beat Ryan, deriving twisted satisfaction from the ordeal. In a moment of resilience, Ryan managed to free himself from the cops binding him and retaliated, incapacitating his assailant. With the immediate threat subdued, Ryan embarked on a desperate search for Darcy within the sprawling ship that served as Drake's base. As Ryan navigated through the ship's corridors, he encountered Drake's skilled men, each engaging in combat with calculated maneuvers. Despite their concerted efforts, Ryan's resilience and determination thwarted every attempt to overpower him. Along the way, amidst the tense search, Ryan eventually found Darcy. With swift action, he freed her, and together they meticulously sought an escape route. Aware of Drake's unwavering resolve to prevent their departure, Ryan knew that a final, decisive confrontation loomed ahead. Understanding the inevitable showdown, he urged Darcy to seek safety while he prepared himself mentally and physically for the pivotal duel that will determine their fate. As they squared off, the tension between Ryan and Drake escalated further. Drake, in a startling moment, recalled Ryan from his days as a police officer and chillingly confessed to being one of the masked perpetrators who had savagely attacked and killed Ryan's family, a revelation that reignited the intensity of their clash. Their battle intensified with each exchange of fiery blows, and Ryan managed to gain the upper hand, knocking Drake to the ground. Yet, in a desperate twist, Drake swiftly seized a knife, intent on launching a lethal strike against Ryan from behind. In a critical and decisive moment, FBI agent Frank intervened just as the confrontation between Ryan and Drake reached its climax. His timely arrival enabled him to shoot Drake dead, effectively halting the deadly duel and ensuring Ryan's survival from the looming threat. Simultaneously, the FBI had mobilized into Hope with a clear mission to dismantle the oppressive grip of Drake's gang, which had long terrorized the town's residents. Agent Frank, recognizing Ryan's pivotal role in the downfall of Drake, made a strategic decision not to arrest him, acknowledging the lack of concrete evidence to justify such action amidst the chaos and aftermath of the confrontation. With Hope liberated from Drake's reign of terror, Ryan said his goodbyes, departing the town with a promise to reunite with Darcy in the future. As the movie concluded, Ryan was seen driving his car once more, embarking on a new journey, symbolizing a fresh start after the tumultuous events. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.